So, what does legacy mean to you? Well, you can define it uniquely for yourself, but depending on how you've gotten to where you are, legacy could be a continuation of what already exists for you. It could be you having, taken the baton and now you're carrying it along on your lap through this life with the intention, hopefully, that you're going to continue at a great pace and build on what was there before you. For others, legacy is an entirely new concept, a new idea, a new ideal, even. Legacy may be an exciting new path that you are taking as a first in your lineage, as someone who does not have the path already trampled down for them, as someone who has to literally whack the bushes of this experience in order to create a path for others. Well, for me, as an immigrant to Canada, legacy is heavy. Legacy for me is loaded. It's got tons of expectation, and I think across three fronts. For me, legacy has expectations that are placed upon me by those who sacrificed in order for me to have the opportunities that I have now. Legacy also has elements of expectation that I have placed on myself based on what I want my experiences to be and how I want to be regarded through this life experience. And I think legacy also carries just the weight of expectation from the next generation. If you are like me, you'll realize that this kind of burden requires you to play a much different game, a much bigger game, because of how we have gotten to where we are. You already experience wealth differently because of how you got to it. So there are elements from your past, elements from, just your experience and the experiences of those who went before you that have you experiencing wealth very differently from the majority. Now, now that you're at the place where you're earning well, you don't feel that you are, but you're probably in the top 10, 5% of earners. You're sitting with wealth differently. Not only did you come to it differently, but now you're sitting with it differently. And as you explore opportunities to expand on wealth, that's also going to land differently as well. All of that coming together with your desire to create a legacy. Well, building wealth isn't just about surviving where you are now. Building wealth is about stepping into a new identity. So often, because of all of the gifts we have from our ancestors, because of all the sacrifices they've made and all the things they've learned, all the things they've overcome, we place these ancestors on pedestals of respect, which, yes, they have earned and they deserve. But what happens when you realize that when it comes to legacy, especially around our interactions and experiences with wealth, you have an opportunity to one day be seen as the wealth ancestor? What if today you step into that identity as a wealth ancestor? What would change for you? What would line up for you? What would suddenly make sense for you? And what would suddenly become non negotiables for you? Well, you did not break through all of these financial ceilings just to remain the hustler, just to remain the high earner, just to remain the person who's constantly trading time for survival. That's what our parents had to do. That's what our parents had to figure out and work through in order for them to thrive within the systems that they were in. But our parents did that in order to break through and create opportunities for us. in order for us to walk different paths. In fact, as they were beating the new paths, they came so far and they have passed the baton on and says, here, we have carried you this far. Now you need to go further. So often we think, well, we've come this far and this is where it's at. Well, no, they did all of that within the limitations of time and space, opportunity, geopolitical environments, all of that. They've come so far with the expectation that we will continue on. For us, for you, you are not your parents. And as a result, for us, there is a different call to action. There is a different call to legacy. So today we're exploring how to integrate wealth with self-worth and how to build a legacy that actually endures across generations. Well, today we will start with 3 steps that are going to help us approach creating a living and an enduring legacy of wealth and wellness. I was recently on a call where we were exploring some elements of philanthropy. And I remember the idea of the great wealth transfer coming up a few times during that discussion. Not, I'm not averse to it. I'm not anti anything when it comes to that. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking about how we view legacy. Now, if we look at legacy through the traditional, typical lens, especially with a financial planning focus. Most times, if you're sitting with the professionals that are going to assist you in creating what they view as legacy, they look at it purely as a set of legal documents that will inform a transfer of assets upon death. Executed after death, everything about that interaction, whether you're talking to your financial planner, your lawyer, your insurance agent, even a trust associate, everything about legacy seems to be interpreted through a lens of after death. But that often ignores a living impact. It ignores an identity evolution. It ignores real-time contribution. So I think that we need to squash the myth that generational wealth transfer is strictly about numbers on a balance sheet and embrace the idea, a guiding principle that passing down a sovereign behavioral operating system is part and parcel of our legacy. And that, I think, especially if you are a first generation high earner, that for me is a big part of that great wealth transfer. If that wealth transfer is actually going to endure generations, that must be part of it. That behavioral exploration, that conversation about how we get to be with wealth, as opposed to what wealth can buy us, how much we can put away, how much money, this, that, and the other. We need to start exploring the behavioral concepts. So today we're exploring that 3-step approach to creating a living and enduring legacy of wealth and wellness. So the first step, the first pillar that we're going to look at is integrating our identity and healing. If you are a first in your line, chances are very, very, very high that you have been exposed to the imposter earner persona as well as money trauma. So the imposter earner is the one who seems to think that I don't fit in here. Someone's going to uncover that I don't actually know what I'm doing. I'm going to make a mistake and lose everything. And then we have that generational money trauma. To be honest with you, sometimes I feel like the money trauma, it's almost in our DNA. I wish they would identify that gene because there are so many elements that I've explored in myself, so many elements of wealth that I was never taught. So many elements of the hustle mentality, that imposter earner, so many elements of the trauma I never personally like directly experienced, or at least I didn't identify it as that, but I see elements of that trauma being exhibited in my actions, in what I'm saying, in how I'm saying it, even in how I sit in rooms where wealth is being discussed or opportunities are being put forth. The trauma is almost like it's hardwired, and until we dismantle those personas and actually take time to heal from the trauma, we are doomed to repeat and have that trauma recur and then compound. Your own financial altitude is going to be limited by the degree to which you can heal your generational money trauma. You're going to need to find a way to integrate who you are. So your identity now, not who your parents were, not who your peers appear to be, but you're going to need to resolve any conflict that exists in your identity. And in order to do that, we need to step boldly into who we are. Who are you? Outside of all the noise, outside of everyone else's opinions, outside of what the system says you should be, a word that I can't stand half of the time. But who are you? And who do you want to be? How do you want to be with wealth? You need to explore that without guilt, and I dare say, without having to over explain. Your yes is yes and yes is enough. That's a full sentence. Your no is no. That is enough. And that is a full sentence. Well, where one of the areas where I see that trauma kind of showing up a lot is in our fear of failure. Our fear of failure is so deeply implanted, it's keeping us from exploring opportunities simply because they might be unfamiliar. The imposter earner comes in and says, "Oh, I don't know about that. This looks kind of risky to me. Should I? Could I? But what happens if I fail?" Well, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take a look. I mean, do some research and let's see, if as much as possible, if you can find some independent research. Take a look at the trajectory, the arc of some of our current wealthy people. What you're going to find is not a linear experience of wealth. You're going to find that some of the world's wealthiest people have failed. They have failed in extraordinary ways a lot of the times. They filed for bankruptcies, they have closed businesses down, they have started things and failed at it, they have partnered with the wrong people, they've had to kind of start fresh more than one time. I'm going to just say it this way. Failure is one of the hallmarks of success. I know it makes no sense. But failure is what happens when you try something new, when you try something different. And with failure being a hallmark of success, it stands to reason then that if you fear failure, you are doomed to never reach your fullest potential. Sit with that for a minute. Sit with that for a minute. Our fear of failure is keeping us where we are locked up instead of allowing us the opportunity to spread our wings and take flight. Until we resolve that identity integration and heal that trauma, we are doomed to not reach our fullest potential. The next step that I'd like for you to consider here as you're planning out your legacy is structuring asset transfer mechanisms. I want you to consider that you're going to create generational wealth freedom within structures and systems that have to be intentionally put together. That's the one side. So your assets, how they're deployed, how they are protected, all of these need to be considered. But you also need to generate that wealth sovereignty for the next generation by passing down and kind of rooting your family values into not just yourself, but the generations to come. You need to find ways to equip your lineage with financial competence that's not just financial literacy. We don't talk about money enough, friends. We do not talk about money enough. And I don't mean like how much the bills are or the mortgage rates. These are fine. We talk about that. That's financial literacy. That's being aware to at least on that end. Although, if I'm honest, even that doesn't get talked about enough. We hide so much about our financial experiences. But I think more importantly, we need to be talking about how we feel with money. Here's an example. Have you talked to a young person in your life, let's say, or a peer, about what it feels like when you're earning well, but you still feel uncomfortable working into certain stores? Have you had that conversation? And this isn't even about race. I mean, race is a big deal. I certainly know I've got some beautiful melanin that will tell you that I know. But I'm talking about in a broader sense. You are earning more than enough to step into certain stores and have an experience of retail and purchasing perhaps something that your parents may not have chosen to do so. But when you walk into that store, you feel a how. You're feeling, you feel like you don't quite belong. Where's that coming from? What is that? What's feeding that? And why are you feeling it, knowing that the numbers say one thing, but your body, the everything about your experience there says something else? Are we talking to each other about the emotional load that we carry trying to fit into places where we work? I mean, we're making great money, but are we actually feeling good in those spaces? What is the actual cost of earning the money that we're making? Do we talk about the impacts of trusts? Do we talk about, tiered asset mobility? Do we talk about, donor advised funds or even vendor take back mortgages? Are we talking about actual opportunities and emotions that go hand in hand with the experiences you're having with wealth? I think that these conversations are the ones that actually set us up for legacy that does not end with us. I think that is how we set up true generational wealth freedom, by having the conversations that go beyond the numbers. And the truth of the matter is, not only are we not having these conversations, but what we are talking about are the things that we've been sold by retail financial bodies that just tell us what we need to know so we can keep going back to them. That can't work. It can't hold. And it does not put you in the seat where you are in control. It puts you at the mercy of. I believe that generational wealth should always be win-win. I have got no problem with the banks. The banks have landed, I've said it before, the banks have landed on a business model that is just phenomenal. They created something that thrives within our capitalist system. It has for generations, and it will keep chugging along. But I believe that you have to know the rules of the game in order to win. That means you need to seek out the rule book so you can understand how to play the game. You can't be learning the rules of the game from the opposing team. They're going to only give you the information that's going to allow them to win and for you not to. So, got nothing against nobody. Your business model is your business model. But I believe that as first generation high earners, if we are going to win, if we are going to create wealth that lives beyond us and allows us to thrive in the present, we have to learn the rules and we have to start having these conversations so we can actually experience both now and after we're gone generational wealth freedom. Our third step is to develop sustainable confidence. Now, cultivating that internal resilience that is unshakable in the craziness of our environment, economic cycles, geopolitical cycles, tax shifts, legislative adjustments, even career transitions, we need to boost, bolster, and nurture our confidence. And it's confidence that allows us to operate outside of all of that craziness. With competence comes confidence. As you equip yourself, as you're having the conversation, as you're listening in on conversations, as you are exploring and experiencing various wealth vehicles in action, various opportunities in action, as you're doing that, you are building your competence. And that competence is going to help create not just confidence, but unshakable confidence, because that type of confidence is what tells you that come what may, you're going to be okay. That kind of confidence, it's not you playing the fool thinking that you are, superhuman, superwoman, superman. No, that kind of confidence says that I can make it. That kind of confidence says, oh, it's crazy right now, I can bounce back. That kind of confidence says, you know what, let me try this. If it doesn't work, I can adjust. It says you can manage. It says you can thrive. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit in a corner, let everyone else do the talking and the doing, and you're just going to observe for the rest of your days? Are you going to sit there and not put your toe in? Golly, step all the way in. That's the thing. Until we get to doing, we're not going to have the confidence that tells us we can. So there you have it. 3 steps to help you build a legacy of wealth and wellness: identity integration and healing of trauma, generational wealth sovereignty, that's the ultimate freedom, and that unbreakable, unshakable, dare I say, unapologetic confidence. That is how we're going to build and create legacies that we live now and we can hand over to future generations. Well, evolving from that successful high earner, that first timer, that I'm so scared person, evolving from that hustle culture where you're exchanging time for money over and over and over again, and becoming that wealth ancestor. It is a decision that you need to make, and that decision is rooted in and strengthened by intentional action. So if you're ready to build that legacy, if you're ready to explore what that wealth sovereignty could really look like, your next move really is a conversation with me. I call it a fit assessment. Let's explore whether our programs are the right fit for where you are now and where you want to be. Request your assessment at hadrianaleo.com. Until then, that's a wrap for this episode of Catalyst Conversations. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. and take care.